So Donald Trump was asked to clarify comments he made last week about the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The former president, of course, praised a wealthy donor whom he awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom as having gotten the better award, his words, compared to the Medal of Honor, because those are recipients who often are shot several times or dead, as Donald Trump said. Here's what he said on Thursday, and then his response to an NBC affiliate on Saturday.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor, that's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's very...
Trump, our resident medal expert. Just when you think he's about to show some reverence, he takes a detour straight into awkward town. By suggesting that the Presidential Medal of Freedom is much better because the recipients are neither in bad shape nor dead, Trump inadvertently turns a moment meant to honor service into a sort of bizarre beauty pageant. It's as if he's awarding medals for a lack of bullet holes rather than bravery. And then there's the cherry on top, calling Miriam healthy and beautiful. Because what else is a prestigious civilian award for, if not to celebrate the recipient's lack of physical trauma? Trump's comparison is like comparing apples to oranges. If the apples had been to war, and the oranges had just done pilates. It's a classic case of Trump using his signature mix of exaggeration and complete disregard for context, where the value of a medal is apparently proportional to how much it improves your chances of being alive and photogenic at the award ceremony. By focusing on physical health and appearance, Trump downplays the gravity of the Congressional Medal of Honor, which is typically awarded to individuals who have endured unimaginable hardship and sacrifice. His remarks reflect a superficial understanding of honor, one that seems more concerned with outward appearances than the profound inner strength that true heroism demands.
Clarify that, because many veterans are upset about that, including here in Pennsylvania.
No, I didn't hear that. I only heard, when I say better, I would rather in a certain way get it, because people that get the Congressional Medal of Honor, which I've given to many, are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. They get it posthumously. And when you get the Congressional Medal of Honor, I always consider that to be the ultimate, but it is a painful thing to get it. When you get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, it's usually for other things, like you've achieved great success in sports, or you've achieved great success someplace else. When you get the Medal of Honor, generally speaking, and I've met many of them, and I've seen the families of many of them, this is an incredible honor, but it was a statement that it's much more painful to get because they're oftentimes in very bad shape. I've seen them come up and they've suffered greatly, whereas the Presidential Medal of Freedom, to my knowledge, I don't think anybody suffered other than they've worked hard and they've done great things. One's a military award, one's a civilian award, but sometimes very painful to get the other.
In typical Trump fashion, when given a shovel to dig himself out of a hole, he decides to excavate an entire underground bunker. Attempting to clarify his previous comments, Trump once again manages to remind everyone that getting the Congressional Medal of Honor is essentially a lifetime subscription to pain and suffering, whereas the Presidential Medal of Freedom is more like winning a civilian version of America's Got Talent. Instead of softening the impact of his original remarks, Trump's clarification somehow deepens the awkwardness, making the Medal of Honor sound less like a prestigious award and more like a punishment for extreme bravery. His explanation is akin to justifying why your favorite ice cream is superior by saying, well, the other one is mostly enjoyed by people who've been stung by bees. While Trump does acknowledge the immense sacrifices made by Medal of Honor recipients, he does so in a manner that's about as comforting as a cactus pillow. The focus remains on the physical and emotional toll, inadvertently painting the Medal of Honor as something to be feared rather than revered. Instead of uplifting those honored, Trump's words emphasize the pain involved in receiving the Medal of Honor, making it sound like something to be avoided. Unless, of course, you're someone who enjoys a bit of posthumous recognition. This bizarre dichotomy highlights Trump's struggle to convey empathy or understanding when discussing the profound sacrifices associated with military service, leaving listeners more puzzled than reassured.
I remember when I went to officer training in Newport, Rhode Island. Outside every one of our rooms, they put a little biography of just one of the people from the Navy who won the Medal of Honor and a little write-up of how they got that Medal of Honor. You'd feel about this big compared to these people. And maybe that's why those stories just break Donald Trump's brain. He literally cannot comprehend that kind of sacrifice, and he certainly cannot comprehend a concept of politics that is not about you, not about your glorification, but about what you can do to make other people better off.
Pete Buttigieg, with the precision of a seasoned surgeon, slices through Trump's bluster with a calm, measured tone that makes his critique all the more devastating. He recalls his officer training days when the Medal of Honor was revered not for who survived, but for unparalleled bravery. Then, with surgical precision, he delivers the blow. These stories break Donald Trump's brain. Buttigieg doesn't hold back, suggesting that Trump's understanding of sacrifice is as thin as a pancake, without the sweetness. To Trump, politics seems like another episode of The Apprentice, where the goal isn't public service but personal glory. Awards, in Trump's world, are only valuable if they make the recipient look good on camera. It's as if Trump's criteria for honor involve more beauty shots than bravery. Buttigieg finds this both baffling and sad, like watching a reality show contestant who forgot that winning is about more than just the confetti at the end. His critique highlights the stark difference between genuine heroism and Trump's superficial view, where looking good seems to outweigh the sacrifices that true honor demands.
I'm curious, we've heard from Donald Trump this morning, playing clips throughout the weekend. Chris Matthews, Claire McCaskill, others have talked about just how off the reservation he is. I mean, Karl Rove has as well, Lindsey Graham. I'm just curious, how do Democrats handle the distractions from Donald Trump better this year than they have in past years, when he's talking about how it's much better to get an award that if you're a rich donor, rich Republican donor, than being honored for ultimate military service, or him saying he's better looking than Kamala Harris, or him attacking Peggy Noonan, or him attacking anybody who doesn't bow down and praise him. I'm just curious, how do Democrats not take the bait and stay focused on what they need to stay focused on to win this election?
The inquiry about dealing with Trump's distractions is like asking how to keep a cat from knocking things off the counter. Sure, you can try, but good luck with that. No matter how much you shoo it away, the cat, or in this case Trump, just keeps coming back for more. He smartly frames Trump's outbursts as distractions, recognizing that these moments are less about coherent policy positions and more about creating a media spectacle. It's the rhetorical equivalent of a magician's misdirection. Trump keeps waving the shiny object, while the real trick happens elsewhere. This question taps into a broader issue. How do you stay on message when the conversation keeps getting hijacked by, well, someone like Trump? People understand that Trump's strategy is to dominate the headlines with comments that range from the bizarre to the inflammatory, ensuring that the political discourse is always centered on him. Whether he's making an outrageous statement or taking a swipe at someone, Trump guarantees that everyone is talking about him, even if the discussion boils down to, did he really just say that? The challenge for Trump's opponents is to avoid getting sucked into his vortex of distractions, and instead keep the focus on substantive issues that actually matter to voters.
Of course, is you have to say something. If he attacks the service of military service members who earn the Medal of Honor, if he goes to the National Association of Black Journalists and blurts out something racist, obviously you have to deal with that. You have to deal with that quickly and then come right back to our message. Because I do think this is a kind of strategy. You might ask, why would a politician do things like that? But, going all the way back to the days of him denigrating the service of John McCain, it's very clear that he does this for a reason. It's a twofold reason. One is he wants people talking about him. And then two, he wants people not talking about the difference between our agenda and his agenda, especially when you look at Project 2025. It's an amazing thing that Project 2025 is kind of the scandal of the year for the Republicans, the thing that they have had to do the most damage control around. Because look at what Project 2025 is. It's just their policies. It's nothing but a write-up of what they plan to do. And they really don't want the American people focused on how Trump is about tax cuts for the rich and we're trying to make sure we have a fairer tax code, or how Donald Trump demolished the right to choose in this country, and how Kamala Harris will lead the work to restore that right to choose, or any other issue, from climate to gun safety to education, you name it.
Pete Buttigieg isn't just playing 3D chess. He's invented a whole new game, one that Trump probably wouldn't even recognize. Buttigieg breaks down Trump's strategy into two simple steps: keep the spotlight on himself and avoid any real policy discussion. It's both clever and infuriating, like realizing the only way to win is to not play at all. You can sense Buttigieg's mix of insight and frustration as he talks about the nearly impossible task of having a serious conversation when Trump's in the room, metaphorically juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Buttigieg suggests that the best way to handle Trump's antics is to acknowledge the circus, but quickly pivot back to the issues that actually matter. It's like saying, sure, the clowns are entertaining, but let's remember why we're really here. He understands that while Trump's stunts might dominate the headlines and distract everyone, the real challenge is keeping the focus on the issues that truly impact people's lives. Trump's antics are designed to draw attention away from the serious discussions we should be having, and Buttigieg's approach is about cutting through the noise and steering the conversation back to what really counts. This dialogue is like watching a political version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? The points are made up, but the consequences are real. Trump's words reveal a striking lack of understanding and empathy, particularly when it comes to honoring military sacrifice. His clarification only deepens the confusion, while the responses from the host and Pete Buttigieg provide a much-needed reality check. In the end, the dialogue offers a snapshot of the challenges of engaging with Trump's rhetoric. It's a balancing act between addressing the absurdity and staying grounded in the facts. It's a reminder that while the circus may be entertaining, the real work happens when the spotlight shifts back to what truly matters. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below. What do you think of Trump's latest claims? Let's talk about it, and I'll see you in the next video.